Welcome to the Lean Lounge, a podcast brought to you by Lean Revisions. Please welcome your host, Jeff Gray.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lean Lounge. My name's Jeff Gray, and I'm your host on the Lean Lounge, where everything under the Lean Operations umbrella takes place. And today I have a special guest that I've known for a while now, who's in sunny New Orleans, Julia Carcamo. How are you? Good morning.
I'm good. How are you doing, Jeff?
I met Julia, about 2 years ago now in Las Vegas at a conference that we're both going to be speaking at this October in Las Vegas, the G2E. And so before we get into everything, Julia, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, what's a little bit of your background, and then we'll dive into our conversation today.
From the Gulf Coast to Las Vegas, Julia Carcamo has built a stellar career in casino branding. As president of J Carcamo and Associates and Casino Marketing Bootcamp, she helps casinos craft winning strategies and develop engaging brands. A sought-after expert, Julia's experiences span from Caesars to working with the legendary Steve Wynn. She understands the industry inside out, but more importantly, she sees things from the guest's perspective thanks to Wynn's influence. Julia's impact is undeniable. She played a key role in Harrah's brand architecture and the iconic Total Rewards program. Later, she led the launch of Wynn Las Vegas, a defining moment in the industry. Always innovative, Julia reinvented the Isle of Capri brands and reintroduced the Lady Luck name. Recognizing the growing Hispanic market, she founded her own company to help casinos connect with this vital audience. Learn more from Julia's book, Real Marketing, or her podcast, Drive Time Marketing.
Oh, so many things to choose from, right? I like to say that I'm a casino marketer by vocation and by avocation. I love being a casino marketer. And when I started my own consultancy, I just keep enjoying getting to do the work I love.
And the name of your consultancy is?
So I actually have J Carcamo and Associates, which is our marketing consultancy. And as you know, Casino Marketing Bootcamp, which is the arm that we use to train with.
And if you see on my my bookshelf here, I have the beads from the boot camp in March. I have my NOLA cup that I got on Bourbon Street. And I have Diamond, my voodoo doll.
Oh, yes, your voodoo doll.
And when people say voodoo doll, they think, ooh, evil. No, this is prosperity or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of people just associate voodoo with bad juju, so to speak. But voodoo was a practice, and a lot of people went to it just when they needed help.
And this one is prosperity, success. So I was reading them. And then I showed it to Mason in the hotel room, and he goes, "What did you do?" And my daughter, they were freaking out. I bought a voodoo doll. I said, "Read it." And they were like, "Oh, wow, it means good luck, prosperity." I said, "Yeah, so let's name her Diamond." So that's Diamond from Bourbon Street in New Orleans back a few months ago when we were down there.
Well, I keep doing boot camp. We do regional ones, but I do the signature one in New Orleans because I love when people learn about New Orleans.
Yeah, and the location was just a couple blocks from all the action. And it was really good. It was can you tell us a little bit about the boot camp? What did you do there? What's the purpose?
So, boot camp was the answer for us to a question of what people do after they attend conferences. And we wanted to create an environment where it was just as robust in terms of content that you get, which you get at almost every conference is a great amount of content and it's valuable. But we wanted to add and create an environment where you actually got to practice that content so that you could put it into place as soon as you go back to your property. So our sessions are a little longer and they're very interactive.
So we went down there and we had a 2.5-hour session, which I really like because when you go to conferences, you get your 45 minutes or 60 minutes, and then the practical application is that follow-up, and it could be a long time. So we went down there in March, I think it was, right? And spent a couple of days down there, and it was great. We had a very good interactive sessions. All of them were from people in the industry, supply chain, a lot of consultants, a lot of general managers and stuff. And we really had a time to really execute the knowledge, the hands-on experience, which was great.
And here's the thing that a lot of people who are not familiar with lean thinking or Six Sigma would not know, and they would be surprised to hear how much fun it was to actually go through the exercise, because it's such a topic that seems to be not for me, for other industries. And Mason and you really taught our attendees how you can apply this practice to your everyday functions in casino marketing.
And not just the marketing, it's the whole operation, and any operation. That's what lean is all about. But since we're thinking of the casino industry, it's your food and beverage, it's your marketing, it's your, your housekeeping, it's your operations. It's a whole customer experience. That's really what's all about. And I'm glad you said that, because yeah, it was really fun.
It was a lot of fun.
People were looking at us like, what? Look at this is it's a marketing. And a lot of people, when they get their bosses saying, yeah, we got this campaign, they get a bunch of stuff and they have to decipher it. And we gave them a bunch of stuff, and then we walked them through the hours of doing deciphering and mapping and fixing. And when they reported out, it was great.
It was. And it was very creative.
What else do you do? You consult, do you actually execute projects too, or you speak a lot too? We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but
it depends on the client. And so you're familiar with some of the casinos, and we're, as an industry, probably like most industries, having to do more with less. And so sometimes that less is really efficient and really effective. Sometimes it needs a little mentorship and a little help, or another pair of hands. And we're kind of like, I always like to think of us as kind of that last piece of the puzzle that just like makes the whole picture, right? So we can come in and we help sometimes with mentoring the staff. Sometimes we help with creating a program and doing the whole plan and executing. Sometimes we just do creative and advertising. So it's a combination of things that we do. We've built marketing plans for some folks. Our next boot camp is in September, and that is going to be 2 days of actually building property marketing plans, which is a lot of fun. A little different than what you experienced in New Orleans.
So since we're speaking about all that, how do people get a hold of you? How do they reach out for your services and your help?
Oh, well, I mean, I've got 2 websites, right? So it's J Carcamo Associates.com, and of course, casinomarketingbootcamp.com.
We'll talk about the speaking engagement a little bit, but in your experience, and you just said you go in and you mentor, you coach, you help build plans. So when you go in, do you just like do a discovery? Do you already have a plan, or you're just seeing how it's going, or what are you thinking about when someone calls you and says, I need help? How do you go about doing that?
I always keep in mind that I was at an operation, and I was always very proud of the work that I did. People coming in externally can do 2 things, right? They can either energize the group and get them motivated and work together, or they can come in and say, we're going to save you from yourself. And that's just not my approach. So a lot of the times I will kind of go through the steps of learning about them, learning what they did in the past and how they felt about it, because we like our babies. We think our babies are beautiful, and sometimes they're not, right? But you got to be very careful about how you work with different properties and different people, because no 2 marketers are alike. And so we can't go in with a standard plan. Do I have steps that I take every single time that I know? I have a roadmap, but sometimes that roadmap has to take some detours. There's construction on the site. So yeah, there's a lot of things that we have to do. It's like there's certain rules of my road that I say, you always have to know your audience. Branded programs all share the same DNA, and brands are built from the bottom up. So it's all that stuff that customers don't see and that employees don't see that create that experience they're having. So there are things that are my rules of the road, but I try to apply them as they are appropriate for the audience that we're working with.
So here's my question I've always thought about, and I hear this all the time. When you say marketing, you market, how do you measure the success that marketing campaign is meeting the target, the sales goals, the customer experience, the product quality? Do you tie all that in there too, or how does that work?
Marketing, at least in the casino experience, marketing is responsible for revenue. So everything we do has to be to satisfy the goals that have been set in terms of revenue, to satisfy the culture of the organization, and to satisfy the brand.
And the products too, because different casinos have different product mix, right?
Yeah. So, and they'll do that for a number of reasons. You know, you mentioned that we're going to be speaking at the same conference in October, Global Gaming Expo. Casino operators from around the world come to see all the latest and greatest, and they come back to their properties with a plan to put into place all these latest and greatest. And operators come from around the world to see the latest and greatest. And this is where we end up with a lot of like things at the property, because everybody buys the latest and greatest to the extent that they can afford it and they have room for it. Casinos at their core, they do have the same thing. What's not the same is their brands and their culture. And so that varies from place to place. And so part of what I do in terms of marketing is try to figure out how can we differentiate ourselves in a way that attracts the audience that's going to want to come to us more than just once, because we need repeat visits, that loyalty and that pattern, so that we get to know them better and we can give them better offers. We can provide a better experience for them. So yeah, they do have the same things, but how they deliver those things can make a big difference.
Yeah, we've been to quite a few casinos together in different conferences and stuff the last couple of years. And yeah, I've noticed when I go visit a floor, there's different layouts, there's different machines, there's different gaming times are open depending on the location, and all of that is strategy that leads into that. Yeah, yeah. So how long does it take to put together a marketing campaign until you can measure the final results? Is it a couple weeks, months, 6 months?
It sort of depends on who your audience is, right? So, and campaigns in the casino space are not just advertising. A campaign could be a free play offer. And if you send it out, if you send it by text message today to your higher worth customers and say, hey, come in this week and we're going to give you X. I mean, you're going to be able to see what that revenue is right at the end of all the redemptions in the play. Then you'll also be able to see, as the month closes out, did you change behavior? Did you make a difference? Did you just displace that revenue? So we do a lot of things that just displaces revenue. So that's important. But luckily with casinos, because we track so much of the play, we're able to see, kind of that return and how it's working pretty quickly.
Good. So you have tight analytics and analysis of stuff of data.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have an extraordinarily high amount of data. What we're doing with it will vary from operator to operator. Some of the operators are really sophisticated in what they're doing. I was speaking to the vice president of marketing for a Southern California casino, and what he's doing is just so very different than, for instance, a smaller casino in the Midwest, in a farm country, right? So what they're doing, and a lot of that has to do with their staffing too, and the markets they're in, whether they can attract the kind of talent that can help them get that leg up on their data.
And people don't realize that, it is a business. It's not just, sitting at the crap table and drinking for free, or, for at least a couple bucks a pop. But yeah, there's a strategy and there's an experience. And that's where, when we go in with an organization like this, it's not just marketing all the time. It's the whole operation. And it's part of that experience. What's bringing them in? What's making them different? And especially with the tribal gaming, a lot of them are condensed and they're competing with each other. And in Vegas, obviously, they're all next door to each other. So what makes the Bellagio different than, the Caesars next door or whatever? What is that? It's the atmosphere. It's the people themselves.
Well, and in Las Vegas, a lot of it has to do with the room product.
Yeah, and I like the themes, and they've tearing them down and they're building new ones. And Mason, I want to thank you for helping us. We are going to be all of us speaking at the G2E in October 7th through 10th. And so on the last day, you're doing your workshop. And what is your workshop going to be again?
So I actually got really lucky. I'm going to be speaking earlier in the week on that Monday, which I believe is the 7th. And I'm doing one of the more traditional sessions on Casino Loyalty 2.0 and creating patrons for the future. So I'm really excited about sharing that stage with Chris Province, who has become a friend and mentor and boot camp coach like you. And then on Thursday, so G2E started these interactive sessions last year. And this year, they're really, really pushing them and creating some great experiences. And they're more like 2.5 hour experiences. And they're designed to be more of a workshop. And when you did the workshop at boot camp, I said to these guys, here's a topic that attendees at boot camp at G2E would really benefit from. And they agreed.
They agreed, yes. And now we're doing one too.
My session on Thursday is going to be customer journey mapping for casino marketers.
Good. Our session on the Thursday, the 10th of October, is going to be on double down with Lean Six Sigma within the casino organization. So Mason thought that was cool, double down. He likes to play blackjack. So, but we're going to be doing the same thing, similar to what we did in New Orleans. It's a 2.5 hour session. It's hands-on. It's taking a system and applying it to the industry and seeing how you can, get your ROI. Like you're just saying, how do we measure results when we make improvements? It's all about the journey, the experience. You can be a marketer, you can be a food and beverage venue, pit boss, the GM, and understand how you operate. And so I love it. And thank you for inviting us to join and getting us to be on part of that, because it's an untapped market for lean and the operations piece, and so you can say you make more money by being more efficient. And that's what it's all about. And that's that umbrella.
And I think operators are looking for ways to make more money and be more efficient always. But like I said, one of the reasons why I was a little worried about doing the topic at boot camp is because it's not a topic that generally has made the rounds in casino operations. And I really saw kind of how people could get their minds around it and really work with it. And I think casino operators, this is a question that we're answering all the time for a variety of reasons, right? Budgets change. The talent market is a little slimmer than it was, pre-COVID. And so but we still have to do the same amount of work, meaning we still have to generate the same kind of revenue and goals, if not higher. So how do we do this? Well, we have to think differently.
Yes, that's the key. You have to, if you just keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to get the same results. We all heard that before. And one of the things is it gets you to think out of the box. There's new innovative ways. There's AI people are using. There's better analytics. The younger folks coming in, they think out of the box. I really like that. And so we bring a lot of young people in, and they'll say some things to me sometimes. And I'm like, what? Some simple little things. It's not hard to do. It doesn't cost you thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to think out of the box. It's really easy. Sticky pads on a wall and understanding your system, is doesn't cost much, as you saw,
Well, and I think sometimes it takes an exercise of like rethinking things to find little from an employee experience. Sometimes there's like little bumps in the road that become giant potholes. I worked with a research company, and they went into one of the properties to do some employee feedback sessions, and they discovered that there was a huge dissatisfaction at the front desk, terrible dissatisfaction, and it started because they needed Post-it notes, and the supervisor never ordered them, and then the supervisor left, and the new supervisor was catching up to things so fast that they didn't have time to, and it just sort of became this annoyance, right? That just sort of hung on them all the time. And so sometimes it takes people like you or like me that come in from the outside that say, hey, what's going on here? Because we're in it so much.
That's it. Yeah. And that's the other thing. Yeah. It's the workforce, the people who are in it. I always tell a lot of leaders, go do what you have your people do and experience what they're going through. And a lot of times, like almost every time, within a day or two, some of those small annoyances are gone because they go, why haven't we done this? Who's responsible? And they're, pointing fingers this way. Look at the system. No one really owns it. Let's put that roles of responsibility and let's manage those little things, because then your workforce is happier and they're facing your customers, they're happier. I mean, it just snowballs through your organization. And then other people want to get on the boat because they're seeing the change, the positive change within.
Right. I think it's good for us as leaders also to understand. I mean, I worked for Steve Wynn, and one of the things he taught me was to walk in the customer's shoes. Well, I think we have to walk in the employee shoes as well. You know, my very, very first casino job, which, by the way, lasted all of 10 weeks because the company filed bankruptcy, but that's a whole other story. But when we had our, I guess, executive team kickoff meeting, the guy in charge said something that always stuck with me, and that was, we all pick up trash. And it's amazing because I will see managers walking a casino floor and walk around a piece of paper. And then I see somebody bend down and pick it up. And that tells me something about that person. Hubert Kelleher, who's a, Michelin star chef, opened a restaurant in St. Louis when I lived there. And we went one of the nights of the opening, and it was rough. But at one moment, I saw him carrying cases of beer to the bar. He's a head chef, an award-winning chef. And I said, I'm a fan because I see you helping your team.
Yeah. When we work with organizations, we tell everybody, leave your title at the door. You are not the CEO. You're not the CFO. You're not the frontline, person who welcomes the guests, whatever. Everybody's on the same page, and we mix people up. So someone who, might have just started 2 weeks ago, who does room service or whatever, is now working with the CIO, and they're talking about what's going on there. So everybody leave your title at the door. You are a team, because like you just said, when the business bankrupt, everybody lost a job. Customers went elsewhere.
And there are people in the back of house, like IT, that doesn't get to understand how what they do creates an experience which creates ongoing revenue for us. And for them to understand that, it makes such a huge difference. When they can advocate for the customer and their fellow employees and not just be looking at systems as ones and zeros.
I mean, your IT is your security, it's your payroll, it's your machine up. I mean, it's all linked. Oh, yeah. All that good stuff. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Great. Oh, yeah, I love it. And anytime you need us for a boot camp, you know who to call.
I think I have you scheduled for our boot camp at Tachi Palace in November.
Yeah, they're fun. I haven't been down there, so I'm looking forward to that one. Yes. And let's stay in touch, because I know we're getting closer to everything with Vegas. And of course, we've got to, Mason and I owe you a big dinner.
Unnecessary.
top of one of those big ones. This is going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And anytime you need anything, reach out to us. And one more time, Julia, tell us your contact information. And you have a podcast. Don't forget, tell everybody about that too.
Oh, I have the Drive Time Marketing Podcast, which is great for casino marketers on the go, as I like to say. But you can find me at J Carcamo Associates.com, casinomarketingbootcamp.com, but I'm all over LinkedIn.
Yes, you're like every day giving little nuggets of knowledge, aren't you?
I try.
Yeah, I know. I like them all the time. See my thumb. All right, my friend. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
For more information on today's show or to become a sponsor, visit leanrevisions.com. Join the virtual studio audience by emailing podcast@leanrevisions.com for tickets. Follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X. This podcast is hosted by Jeff Gray, produced and edited by Make Your Day Richer.